talking, trying to make Mikey versus Terence right here. You see behind me, Robert.
You see him get dropped.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So that clip you guys just watched, that was a video I uploaded last week where Terence Crawford basically ran into Robert Garcia and told him that he would knock out his brother, Mikey Garcia. He told Robert, he said, we've seen Mikey Garcia get dropped. So once again, Terence Crawford, he's telling Robert Garcia directly to his face that he wants to fight his brother, Mikey Garcia. Now, this is what Robert Garcia had to say recently since they had that conversation about a week ago. Robert Garcia, he said, if Mikey ever fights Crawford, it'll probably be 2 years from now because I think Crawford's going to fight Mike Alvarado, then he may fight Thomas Delarme in a rematch. That's probably why Top Rank doesn't even mention Crawford's name. They mention Lomachenko, and that's the fight they want. Robert will continue by saying, I talked to Crawford last Saturday about it too, and I told him straight up the way it is. You know, I was with Top Rank Bob Arum earlier that day, everybody at Top Rank, and nobody mentions Mikey versus Crawford. The fight they want to do is Mikey versus Lomachenko. Lomachenko's team, Top Rank, everybody wants Mikey versus Lomachenko. Nobody mentions Crawford. Listen, let me go ahead and say this. There's no doubt about it. For Mikey Garcia's sake and Team Garcia, it would make more sense for them to go after a smaller Lomachenko as opposed to going after a bigger Terence Crawford. But with that being said, if Terence Crawford, the actual champion, is challenging Mikey Garcia directly, it really doesn't matter what the promoters are saying at the time. I mean, when Sean Porter jumped in the ring and he called out Danny Garcia, it didn't matter what the promoter said. When Tyson Fury jumped in the ring and he called out Deontay Wilder, once again, it didn't matter what the promoters were saying. But more importantly, we have to listen to what Mikey Garcia himself actually said. Mikey Garcia, he said when he first started calling out Errol Spence, he said he did not want to fight Terence Crawford because he did not like his style. He said all Terence Crawford is going to do is run in the ring. Now, when it comes to Robert Garcia saying if they ever fight against each other, it'll be 2 years from now, I think that will definitely depend on what happens in the Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence fight. Because if Mikey Garcia loses to Errol Spence, especially if he gets knocked out by Errol Spence, it would seem to me the wise choice would be to go back down to either 135 or 140 and just face the best fighters down there in those divisions. And as for Robert saying that Terence Crawford is going to fight against Mike Alvarado next, I hope that's not the case. I really, really hope that's not the case. I mean, even though Mikey Garcia is occupied because he's about to fight against Errol Spence, even though Keith Thurman and Porters and all of those guys are unavailable because they're not going to fight Terence Crawford, I really, really pray that Terence Crawford doesn't fight Mike Alvarado or Thomas Delarme in a rematch. That situation kind of reminds me of when Tim Bradley, when he was in his prime and he was still undefeated, Bob Arum wanted, or Top Rank, they wanted Tim Bradley to fight against Mike Alvarado, coincidentally, right after Mike Alvarado had lost to Brandon Ríos. They wanted Tim Bradley to fight against the loser, Mike Alvarado. And I remember Tim Bradley, he said, why do they want me to fight the loser? I want to fight Brandon Ríos because he's the one that won the fight. So that shows you that definitely fighters that are signed to a promoter, they definitely have a voice. And I think a lot of these fighters, they basically tell their promoters who they want to fight. Speaking of telling their promoters who they want to fight, this is another reason why Bob Arum would be focused on making the Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia fight before a Crawford versus Garcia fight. Because Lomachenko just recently gave orders to Bob Arum, and he specifically told Bob, I want the Mikey Garcia fight after the Pedraza fight. This is what Lomachenko told his promoter Bob Arum. So yeah, it makes sense that Bob would want to make this fight first. I truly believe a Garcia versus Crawford fight is all going to depend on what happens in the Errol Spence versus Garcia fight. If Mikey Garcia obviously were to pull off the upset, I believe that's going to make him even more confident to take on a Terence Crawford. Now, obviously, if he loses once again to Errol Spence, then it would make sense that he would most likely go back down to 140, 135 and never come back up. But once again, if he were to pull off the upset and beat Errol Spence, it wouldn't look that bad if he decided not to fight Terence Crawford then. I personally have no problem with Mikey Garcia fighting Errol Spence and then after that going after Lomachenko. Those are all great fights. These are still all pound for pound fighters that are going up against each other. So you win either way as a boxing fan. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Once again, to the fans, especially the Mikey Garcia fans, if there was anything I said in this video that hurt your feelings or upset you and you want to talk about it, you guys can call into my show, call into my radio show, and let's have a conversation. Tell me what I said that didn't logically make sense. Tell me what I said that you disagree with and why. All right, so once again, the number will be on the screen when I do my live show, and we can take it from there. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.